Hello and welcome to episode 1056 of The Sleeper and the Bust. It is Tuesday, May 24th. I'm your host, Paul Sporer, joined this morning by Justin Mason. Justin, good morning, sir.
Good morning to you. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty well. How about yourself?
I'm doing all right. Started working out yesterday again, and
Nice.
so I'm a little sore. But other than that, I'm a little sore at Darren Ruff for just effing over Alex Cobb.
That was tough.
Yeah,
Give me some rundown there because I was going through the box scores and I saw that he got blasted with 6 runs, 10 hits, but then chat was saying, nah, it wasn't as bad as that. I didn't see that game. I was watching the Padres one. So fill me in because there were no errors.
No, there was like 2 or 3 infield hits in, I think it was the second or third inning.
Okay.
And loaded the bases, 2 outs.
Was Ruff playing first or outfield?
He was playing left field.
Okay.
And like, I can't remember who was up to bat, but somebody hit like just a lazy fly ball, but right to the foul line, and Ruff fucking missed it. He got there, missed it, it landed like a foot within the foul line. He ended up rolling into the netting and getting kind of stuck.
So then the play keeps going.
Yeah, so 2 runs scored, and then maybe was it 2 runs scored? Yeah, 2 runs scored, and then moments later, Pete Alonso comes up and hits a 3-run jack, and so he catches that saves 5 runs, and because he didn't touch the ball,
no error.
There was no error.
That's the problem with errors too. Like they're just such arbitrary horse shit.
Yeah, and I know the Giants love this platooning stuff, and it works, right? Like it does work. Like I don't want to act like it doesn't. Ruff has no business out in the outfield. Like
that's true. Kevin
Paldo really needs to play. Like he really needs to be the first baseman.
You don't. You're gonna besmirch the great name of. I mean, you didn't even say his name right. It's Kevin Padlo. You said Paldo.
No, it's Paldo to me.
Paldo. Okay,
Paldo.
So Kevin Paldo. You don't think he's a good number 5 hitter?
Yeah, no. So yeah, it was brutal because I mean, in spite of that, he went 6 innings.
Yeah,
and struck out 7.
Yep,
didn't
no
walk
walks.
anybody. It was a lot of soft contact that just found holes. I wrote him up last night for the Roto write-up, so if you guys want, you can go read that. But he had a 474 BABIP, which brought his BABIP for the season up to like 417, I think it is. He's gonna be fine. Like this is the easiest buy low ever. But it's so frustrating, especially when they got staked a 2-run lead in the first off of a Crawford homer, and just blew it, just absolutely blew it.
With Cobb, this is a buy low that could wind up on the wire though. He's 48% at Yahoo, 30% at ESPN already. And he might start popping up on some 12s if people don't do a proper investigation. Yeah. Or they just get too irked by the 11.4 hit rate, but 6.25 ERA, 273 FIP for Alex Cobb.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, it's right there. And I got to be honest, it's not all that dissimilar to Alex Wood. It's so easy to confuse them too. A couple of Alexes with 4-letter last names that are oft injured. The main difference is righty versus lefty. But other than that, they have a lot of similarities. And if they start popping up on wires, they are insta pickups for me.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, they're guys I'm just watching to see if anybody drops them in my leagues.
And I will say, we're going to get into fixing your whip today with some guys that you can trade for and pick up. Both of them have hideous whips at over 1.5. I would still say pick them up, though, Wood and Cobb, because when they're going, their whips will help you. And they both have gaudy hit rates over 11 right now. That is driving their problems, and a lot of it is defense related, like you're saying, and simple bad luck.
And I mean, the Giants should have good infield defense. This shouldn't
exactly
be like it's, you've got Crawford, Longoria's back. This should be a better defensive team than it's played early on in the season. So
don't play Darren Ruff or Paldo.
Yeah, fuck, man. I just
Carl Paddle.
Paddle? So brutal. Like
I'm gonna call him Carl Paddle instead of Kevin Padlow.
I like that.
Another thing I want to talk about before we get into the whip stuff, and I didn't put this on the rundown, but we briefly started talking about it before we jumped on. You're poor in our main event now. You're down to 285.
I'm not Dalton Del Don poor.
Destitute Del Don. Destitute Dalton Del Don, the 4Ds. Now he put his money on some big dogs. He has $30 left. You have 285 though, which you can make work, but you've gone on a spending spree the last couple of weeks. Obviously, I imagine you'll dial down from here. Your big win this week, you were the Gorman getter at 177, which anything over 200 for me was a little bit of a cutoff that I wasn't comfortable with, and there were bids even a good bit higher than that, I should say, in the 4s and 3s. In fact, you're one of only, eyeballing it here, I'm going to say about 12 or 15 leagues that came in under 200. You are the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9th cheapest on Gorman.
I didn't think
177. What's that? Yeah, you didn't think you were going to get him at 177. No. You were doing to keep him honest. And this is why you always do the keep him honest, because you never know. There's one league where he went for 101 to 99. Yeah. Like, how comfortable is that person? Like at 101, I was Gorman.
I was on the Bench with Bubba podcast last night, filling in for our buddy Toby, who's out on vacation. And Bubba said that in an OC, he went for $27.
That's the lowest. Yep. And
that's insane.
He went under 60 in 7 OCs. Gorman did. That's 12 team, but under $60 to take a shot on him. So you got him under 200 in a 15 teamer. I like that. And I was not very much in on Gorman this week for the same reasons that everyone's talking about, right? The swing and miss is the concern. Mm-hmm. But when you're talking sub 200, I do like taking the gamble on his power upside. My biggest issue was the price that you were going to have to pay. I got to be honest. I thought you got a nice price here. Were you concerned, or are you concerned, since you didn't think you were going to win? Are you concerned that you won based on what it does to your money after your spending spree last week with, or 2 weeks ago with Josh Winder and who else was the other big? Oh, Tyler Wells and Nick Pavetta. Yeah. Pavetta, by the way,
Pavetta looking great.
Looking really nice. So how do you feel now that you did win? A little bit of a surprise, but at a price you felt comfortable with. That's why you put the bid in.
Well, and complete transparency, in other leagues, I was more aggressive. Like I got him in my other main
4 leagues.
4 of my 5 available leagues. I got him for 267 in the tag team. I think 313 in my other main, and then I can't remember what he paid for what it paid for him in TGFBI. I felt like he was one of the last big call-ups that I was going to get to have for a while. I know some people are talking about Corbin Carroll coming up at some point.
I mean, some guys will come up, but what if he doesn't come up for a month? You get a whole extra month possibly of Gorman.
He's playing in Arizona. That park isn't the greatest to hit in. And Gorman seems locked in to playing time. They've been batting him atop, high up in that lineup. So there is obvious risk. We talked about it last Thursday. Jason, Eric, and I talked about it on Sunday. But I was upfront and honest with people who were listening. I was going to be aggressive either way, and just kind of hope and praying he doesn't fall, victim to the Josh, Lowe kind of fate. So far, he's looked pretty damn good, hitting like over 300 with only 2 strikeouts so far. So,
and you mentioned that he's batting his last 2 times too. Mm-hmm. And like with Gorman, the obvious issue is the swing and miss that people are concerned about, and myself as well, and why I didn't want to go too crazy. 34% strikeout rate with a 16% swinging strike rate. Down to 10% right now, early on with his swinging strike rate and 13% strikeouts. We're going to keep a close eye on it, right? That can flip on 1 0 for 4 game with 3 strikeouts. So
it can flip tonight.
We're not close as far as stabilizing there. But similar to Juan Yepez, the Cardinals are committed to their guys when they call them up. They put Gorman up, boom, he's batting 3 of the 4 games. The one off was against the lefty, and now he's batting twice or 2 in back-to-back games. That's encouraging. And so now, as you navigate where you're at here, and I will say, you asked about your NFB or your TGFBI. You were second highest at 297. Alex Becky of Baseball HQ was the top TGFBI bid at 305. But sticking with the main event, how will you navigate this now with the money that you have? Are you done on big bids, and do you have a certain number that you won't go above? I know a lot of it's contextual, but what is your general idea now that you have 287 for the rest of the season?
Yeah, I mean, I'm probably not gonna bid more than 40 or 50 bucks on any one guy, and I want to have probably about 80 to 100 bucks as we enter the last 4 to 6 weeks of the season.
So that leaves you 205 basically for June, July, and August, and another week this week in May.
Yeah, so it's going to be a matter of really budgeting out my money, making sure that, there'd be a lot of $3, $7, $10 bids kind of thing. And, this is where it becomes really important to start looking ahead, especially with like starting pitchers, right? Like, and not 2 starts this week, but who has the nice 2 starts next week, and can I stash them for a week to pick it up? So this is how I, or one of the reasons I ended up with Martin Perez in a few leagues, which has been working out fairly nicely. So it's not going to last.
Be careful, but it's been going very well.
So I mean, if you're going to be aggressive early, it means you're not going to have the hammer late. So if there are guys that end up like either popping up from the minors or people drop, because their roster crunches become too much to bear, then I'll be out on those guys. But the hope is that I'll have Gorman for longer than other people will get, the Corbin Carrolls or the DL Halls of the world that will be coming up probably at some point.
Yeah, I think that's a great way to put it too. And that's really the big issue is like when you get the guys, you get that extra volume. And listen, it's not surprising that you went for Nolan Gorman because his best case is what you want is to be a Paul DeYoung. And if you look at Paul DeYoung's first season,
true.
He was crushing the ball, but we were all like, I don't know about this because he's striking out too much. But he outran it for that first full year, 25 homers, 285. Like when you're hitting the ball that hard, you can overcome it for a 443 plate appearance sample. That's what you're hoping for from Gorman. He's got the power to do it. And maybe he tamps down the strikeouts a bit too. Sometimes, guys, not that they're like goofing around in AAA, but maybe he was selling out to be like, let me just put these homers up and go all or nothing here in the minors. Then when I get to the majors, I'll dial in a little bit more because he did only strike out 20% of the time last year. That's the only reason I say that with Gorman.
Yeah.
It's not like he's been a strikeout monster throughout his entire minor league career. So maybe there's some improvement here. It's been kind of up and down. It was 27% in AA, 32%. So he's had high ones. I don't expect him to really be like a sub 20% guy, but premium hitter, 22 years old, great pickup. I like your aggressiveness, and our league is super tight, by the way. I was telling you, I'm up to 6th. I could be 11 today though. 6 to 11, that range there just pops around.
Yeah. I'm sure the Cardinals told Gorman like when they brought him up, like, hey, if you want to stick at the majors, you cannot strike out at a 40% clip. Like it just can't happen. So yeah, I'm hoping he is, learning and going, hey, I can't swing at everything, but we'll see. It's a gamble, but one of the things I talked about before we hit the record button that I'll repeat for the entire audience was, my one weakness that I left in that draft when we left Vegas was power. And so I needed to be aggressive to get what I felt like could be a really big power source off the wire in a guy like Gorman. So, hopefully it doesn't blow up in my face, but I think there's a good shot that he can kind of carry me to a better spot. My team has gone from early in the season being like in the top 3 to now I think at 10th place or something like that. So,
but again, as much as the standings are changing,
I was 5th place like 2 days ago. Like,
yeah, and that's why I'm not even like geeking that I'm have spiked up to 7th because I know, or 6th because I know it doesn't mean anything right now.
Mm-hmm.
And not to twist the knife, but I still think it was that duo there when you went Benintendi Verdugo. And if you put Hunter Renfroe in there right now, you have 7 more homers, but you're addressing it. And obviously I wish you some luck, but not the most luck because we're in the same league. So I can only wish you so much luck, but I'm eager to see how you play it the rest of the way. And it will force your hand to be, like you said, a little bit more digging a bit more deeper to see who those 2 starts are, or a guy that you like who's a short side platoon, but they get 5 lefties 2 weeks down the road type of deal. So we'll see how you play that. But let's talk about fixing whip, because I think that is, first off, we've talked about this a bunch on the pod in recent years, how fixing your ratios is possible and a lot easier later than people think. They always seem to think that like once you hit the middle of the season, you can't fix your ratios anymore. But that's actually not true. And the one who really put me on that was Todd Zola, and a lot of investigative work that he did on that, analyzing it, because one of the key factors that he always brings up is ratios are the only categories where your opponents can move back toward you.
Mm-hmm.
So things can work in concert where you're moving up and they're moving down. In all the counting categories, it's all straight up. And so there is a case that if the standings are close enough, right? Because it also matters on how stratified your standings are. But if they're close enough, you can almost make bigger moves in ratios than you can counting categories at a certain point in the season. However, right now, everything's still pretty open. And so do not ignore your ratios and do not let them get too bad, because if you start, falling too far behind, then you won't be able to catch up. You'll just have to start taking Hail Marys and you'll kill your ratios. So we've got some guys that you can pick up in shallower formats, but also some guys you can trade for that will not be cheap, but they also won't cost you your best players. So let's talk about 10 players to possibly fix your whip. Let's start with a guy who had a brilliant outing yesterday, taking a perfecto into the 6th, giving up a hit in the 6th, and then a couple more as he finished 8th. And that was Tyler Anderson, who went 8 scoreless with 5 hits, 0 walks, 8 strikeouts. He's having a wonderful season, Tyler Anderson is, with the Dodgers. He was a sneaky guy that a lot of sharps were in on. Going to the Dodgers kind of instantly earns you some credibility. And he had some pretty good skills last year. So you figure a team like the Dodgers being able to maximize a decent foundation of skills. And here we are with a 3.30 ERA and a 1.01 whip with a 21% strikeout minus walk rate for Tyler Anderson. He doesn't walk anybody with a 3% mark. And he's on one of the best teams in the league. So the 32-year-old lefty is only rostered at 50% of Yahoo leagues and 37% of ESPN leagues. I think those numbers are too low, even for a shallower format. I don't know why Tyler Anderson isn't more highly rostered. It's a 2-start week this week. He gets at Arizona later this week, and then the Mets come to visit him in Chavez Ravine next week. I really like Tyler Anderson. I think he's a good pickup for people trying to fix their whip. What do you think about Tyler Anderson?
He's got a 3% walk rate right now, a career high swing and strike rate, career high O swing. Things are just rolling really well for him right now. I do worry that as things start to heat up in the summer, that his fly ball rate is going to catch up to him. He's going to give up quite a few more bombs. So I do think that this is probably a little bit of fool's gold. I do think he can keep it up for a little while here. And I think if I do have him in a league, so I'm riding the hot streak and kind of waiting for that first multi-homer game.
Because he's still at 1-2 right now. Tyler Anderson is even in the midst of this, homers are his thing. That's part of the a guy who isn't overpowering, who doesn't walk anybody. He lives in the zone, right? So he's going to give up homers. But if there's solos, I don't know. I'm just not that concerned about it. What do you think his ERA is going to be from here forward? I think he beats projections, which are 4.6, 4.7.
Oh yeah, probably 4.2, something like that. Which I mean is still is useful, and I mean he's on the best team in the National League, so
see he could be like 4.2 with like a 1.14 whip.
Mm-hmm.
That's the thing,
and rack up a ton of wins because I mean this is a team.
He's got a pretty good strikeout rate too, by the way.
Him and Gonson carrying that team, by the way, right now.
I know, because they don't have their normal depth at all. And Gonzo, you know, I would have put Gonzo on this list, but his walk rate still scares me a bit, and he's kind of riding off of his hit suppression. And so that's why I didn't end up putting him, even though he has an 0.97 whip. But yeah, you're right. Like they've been amazing, while Buehler and Urias are just kind of. They're not treading water. They're better than treading water, but they haven't been God tier.
Yeah, they haven't been.
Kershaw and Heaney are on the IL, of course.
And I mean, I don't know when Kershaw's coming back. I know Heaney is working his way back.
Yeah,
I mean, Kershaw not even. It's not. He is not even going to start throwing. And I can't remember if it was on Friends of Fantasy Benefits. I think it was, or it might have been on the Sleep in the Bus. But we were talking to Eric Samolsky. He was talking about his friend is like an orthopedic surgeon or a chiro person, and was like, hey, explain to me this injury. And it's all about the ability to like transfer power from your lower body to your upper body. This is what that injury affects. Like that is
Kershaw's injury.
Yeah. And that's like a huge part of pitching. So he's not even going to throw for a few weeks. So like, it sounds really, really, really bad, unfortunately. Yeah, man, I want to like Anderson. I'm just a little afraid of the home runs. You're probably right, though. I mean, if he can continue to keep this walk rate just minuscule the way he does, he's been attacking hitters. He's got like a 69% first pitch strike rate right now, which is super nice. Yeah. So,
I like him. I'm going to take a shot here and kind of hold him in these shallower formats where Tyler Anderson's available. And, you know, we'll see how it goes. Obviously, I'm not going to be starting him in Coors, and maybe I take a day off every once in a while against like a San Diego type team, and maybe even that Mets game next week. Maybe even that one's a sit. But I do think there's enough here where even with the 1.2 home run rate that Tyler Anderson has and a 1.4 career, there can still be enough here. Because like I said, one of the most undervalued assets, and we've talked about this on the pod a ton too, is the guy who has a mediocre ERA, something in the low fours, but a wonderful whip. And that was Joe Musgrove before he finally broke out. He used to be like 4.10 ERA, 1.13 whip. That's what Tyler Anderson can be with a good strikeout rate and tons of wins. So if you got your ERA fixed and it's good, then even if he posts a 4.30, 4.40 ERA, Tyler Anderson might still have enough value for you to kind of keep him.
I wonder if he's going to get more strikeouts. I mean, he's got a 15% swinging strike rate and a 42% O swing right now.
That's what I'm saying.
Like he's getting people chasing.
I think that can go up.
Yeah.
And so if you're getting Ks, dubs, whip, what if the ERA is 4.50?
He could be Robbie Ray.
He could be.
Yeah.
Well, Robbie Ray with good whip.
Yeah.
Because old Robbie Ray didn't necessarily have good whip.
But I mean, strikeouts guy that gives you home runs, but because he's attacking the zone,
it works.
He's not gonna crush you.
Yeah, so more Robbie Ray last year, but not quite Cy Young capable. But yeah, Tyler Anderson, really, really like him. Definitely available in a lot of leagues as well. This guy's even more available. Doesn't quite have the same track record this year, but I think you mentioned that you have him in a couple leagues. You sat him against the Dodgers, which makes sense. Who knew Zach Eflin was going to go drop 12 punchies on the Dodgers when they came to visit? But he's been rolling a bit, even including a bad outing against the Mets. He's got a 3.47 ERA and 23 strikeouts in his last 23 and a third innings. And that's, like I said, with a 5 earned in 4 1/3 at the Mets. The other 3 are absolute gems. And Zach Eflin has a 1.14 whip. And, you know, even last year, like 1.25 whip is not great. But depending on where you're at, like what kind of whip you're fixing, if it's obviously a 130 or higher type whip, then his 125 from last year can help. But right now, he's not walking anybody, and his hits have come down a bit. And that's kind of the key to Eflin being a whip aid, is that if he keeps the hits under 1 per inning, with his walk rate, he can be a whip asset. But I think it really comes down to whether or not that defense can help him. And it's a shit defense. So he basically kind of needs to get lucky. But there aren't that many whip guys available for pickup. So we got to go where we can go. And 17% Yahoo, 9% ESPN for Zach Eflin gave me some intrigue here. He gets the Mets this week in city and then San Francisco at home next week. So 2 difficult challenges. But is Zach Eflin somebody who's on your radar? And like I said, I already know he is because you picked him up and didn't start the Dodgers outing.
Yeah, I picked him up in a few leagues right before he came off the IL. Just kind of on a gamble. I've always liked Eflin.
He's always had some intrigue, some foundational intrigue.
He's very much like Pavetta in the way that the fantasy industry has been trying to kick that football and falling on her ass like Charlie Brown for years. And he kind of looks like the guy we saw in 2020 in that shortened season where people were like, oh, is this the breakout? Are we finally seeing him? Yeah. He's doing a good job of, not letting balls get into the air, which will be huge for him. He's not walking guys. The Dodgers' performance was pretty impressive. He did give up 2 solo homers. That's what both the runs came off of. And they were just location mistakes in the zone, and that's going to happen with them. They're going to be bad days because he pitches in Philadelphia and has that defense behind him, which is so bad. But this is really, really intriguing, and I would be trying to pick him up just about anywhere he's available.
Yeah, I like Eflin as well. More widely available too, so easier to pick up. Excuse me. Again, the next 2 matchups are difficult, but I think there's been enough skill here with the 23% strikeout rate, 5% walk rate, that I'm not averse to doing it, even with the difficult matchups incoming. And at the very least, I think Eflin's a team streamer where, you kind of spot him where you feel most comfortable. And again, more widely available than Tyler Anderson. I favor Anderson, but he's just not going to be as available. What about this guy whose roster rate dipped because he went on the IL? He's back, and Bailey Ober's roster rate is more in line with Tyler Anderson's, but I think it should be even higher. He's 48% at Yahoo, 63% at ESPN. I think that needs to go up. I think it's just a slow reaction to Bailey Ober returning from the IL. This is very much in line with the first 2 guys where he doesn't walk anybody. He gets decent strikeouts. This year, they've been a little low, 20 and 24 2/3, but last year he had 96 in 92 innings. But he doesn't walk anybody. A little bit of a home run issue overall for his career. Only 2 so far this year, though. So maybe he's addressing the home run issue. Actually, I think he's got a very low homer to fly ball rate. But Bailey Ober's off the IL and has some solid availability in shallower formats. Is Bailey Ober somebody you'd pick up to fix your whip? He's got KC and at Detroit for his next 2 starts. So that's very, very appealing.
Yeah, I love him for those 2 starts. That's like a really good really good schedule coming up for him. That? I'm just so worried about the homers. I mean, he gives up so many fly balls and
he doesn't give up any walks. So they're like solo shots.
I know, but
he's right at like 419, 120 is what he had last year, ERA whip. Like, that's exactly what we're talking about. Somebody who can help with your whip, even if the ERA is a bit of a problem. It is a 5% homer to fly ball that's helping his homers this year, so I don't really believe that
he's got a 52% fly ball percentage.
Yeah, the ball's in the air a ton.
But I just worry as things start to heat up, that's gonna come back to bite him a little bit. You're right, he doesn't walk guys. That could help him kind of keep things at bay, even if he does start to give up home runs.
He had a 419 despite a 2.0 homer 9 last year. Man. So, do you think he's going to get back up to 2.0 again?
I think he could.
Okay, but then if that's I understand that.
I think you ride with it right now.
He can be higher than a 419 for Ober. I grant that.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, I feel like you're going to get a modest ERA, but a good whip. And I think the strikeouts will head back up because he's at a 14% swinging strike rate. The 20% K rate doesn't make sense. So I don't know, man. I think he's pretty good.
I think he's got a lot of potential, and pitching in that division is fantastic. It's just
that's definitely true.
There are pretty good parks in that position or that division, and there's just so many teams that you're like. Is there an offense in that division you're really afraid of? Like, I guess the White Sox ish, but they're missing guys and stuff.
I mean, his own offense scares me more. His own Bailey Ober's own team, like Minnesota, I think is better.
Speaking of which, like I wrote up. I mean, it was a kind of a slow news day yesterday, in terms of like performances that I really cared about writing up. So I wrote up Max Kepler. He is quietly having a really fantastic year and getting extremely unlucky. He has like a 318 XBA.
In fairness, he does this every year. So at some point, I'm not sure if it's bad.
Go look at his StatCast.
His style. Listen, I love Kepdog. I'm fully aware. By the way, he is obliterating the Tigers. That grand slam yesterday was like his third or fourth homer it was his fourth homer against the Tigers. He is destroying my favorite team. But I love Kep. I really do. He's always had these low BABIPs, though. And so I wonder if it's just the way he hits. Because, like, last year he had a good StatCast, too, no? Like
it wasn't this good.
It wasn't?
I don't think so. I'll double check, but
it's pretty good. I know his barrel rate was actually higher than it is this year so far. But I love him. I'm a huge Kepler fan. I've been waiting for a batting average spike because of his good StatCast numbers and low BABIPs, but he's a 249 career BABIP. So I just think that he's got issues with BABIP. Now this year he's finally getting the ball on the ground. It's weird to say that because usually the power guy, you're fine with it in the air. But that's part of why his BABIPs are so low, because he lives in the air. 43% career, but 36 this year for Kepler. He's up to a 42% ground ball rate, and it has fueled a 272 BABIP, which is actually a 5-year high for Kepler. But I really do like him, so I like that you wrote him up. I usually read the roto write-up during lunch, so I was unaware of what you said. Oh, I didn't see that you had a note on Connor Overton going on the IL. That guy was pitching out of his ass.
He was like, there was regression coming.
In like the most painful way, though, too.
Yeah, and
it was not going to be smooth.
He was saved by just an awful injury.
Stress fracture, which is a weird thing to say. Yeah, but he had a 520 Sierra and a 182 ERA.
Yeah, it was insane.
It was coming. But anyway, Bailey Ober, we like him. Taijuan Walker, 25% Yahoo, 50% ESPN. Big Taijuan Walker fan. Always have been. So my bias is on the table. Hey, man, my man went into Coors Field and dropped 7 scoreless. Now, it was on everybody's bench because nobody was obviously going to start him for that. But now he's got 3 straight good starts in a row, 3 earned runs across 19 innings. Only 11 strikeouts, though. The strikeouts are the problem, but he doesn't walk guys. And if he keeps the hits in order, which he has the last 3 years, 7.8, 7.5, and 7.3 are his hit rates. It's a good whip. He's been under 120 each of these last 3 years. He's on a good team. If he can stay healthy, which is obviously a major if with Taijuan, I think Taijuan Walker can be a whip asset and help you out as well. And he's pretty widely available.
Yeah, I'm honestly a little surprised. Like, his strikeout rate is so low. Like, it shouldn't be that low. So I would expect strikeouts to come up. For him, it's all about health. Like you said, like it's when he's on the mound, he's usually pitching fairly well. And it's just a matter of time, though, before he's off the mound, unfortunately, because he's just this guy who consistently gets hurt. So he's kind of perfect, though, in your shallower formats, your 10s, your 12s, right? Like, he's a guy like, he gets injured. Oh, well, you move on to the next guy because there's plenty of other guys available. He's a guy I tend to avoid.
Exactly.
Because I play mostly deeper leagues, and there isn't guys available to go out and get as easily in the leagues that I tend to play in. So I think, if you're in a 10 or a 12, like, I think it's a great park to pitch in. The division isn't nearly as difficult as maybe we thought it was going to be, outside of Philadelphia just having a monster offense. And so you kind of avoid that. And, he doesn't have to pitch against his own team. So that's helpful. I think it's, I think you're right. I think he's going to be a whip asset as long as he's healthy. The problem is he's already been injured feels like a few times this year.
I think you're right. Definitely once, because he was returning.
I think once was in spring training. And
that's right. And then he got hurt again in April. So yeah, he does have 2 injuries so far this year. But Taijuan Walker could definitely get some whip from him. Let's see what he's got on the docket coming up. He gets Philly on the weekend, so be careful with that. And then at the Dodgers. So maybe don't pick him up yet. Maybe put him on the watch list. I don't want either of those starts. I don't. I got to favor all of the other guys over Taijuan Walker right now. And maybe even this next guy, our last guy for the pickups before we get into some trade candidates, Brad Keller. He's having a pretty solid season so far. Starting to come back to the pack. His first 5 starts were off the charts, 1.74 ERA. Nobody was expecting that to maintain. Over his last 3, he's at a 5.49 ERA. But one of those starts was particularly bad at Texas, and then the other 2 have been solid 7-inning outings. But when he's going, he can be a whip guy. It's hit and miss, though. Like 2020 in the shortened season, which is about the same sample size as this season so far, he had a 102 whip. This year, he has a 103. But his career is 135. So Keller can be dodgy. He doesn't walk a ton, but the hits are usually the problem for him. Is the KC defense good enough to turn all those Keller ground balls into outs and make him a whip asset worth picking up? What do you think about Brad Keller?
Oh, I've been riding Keller in a few leagues.
Been going well, 320, 103 right now, but only 15% Ks, 1.5.
Yeah.
That's low.
Yeah, it's he's just kind of getting me through and helping me stabilize my ratios. He gives up so much contact.
That's the tough part.
Yeah, and I just worry as like the ball starts to like move a little bit, that's going to become a real problem for him.
And KC will heat up. Like that's not a good park to hit in. It's a pitcher's park, but heat is heat, and it helps everywhere.
Yeah, and I just worry that the homers are going to come up a little bit, and if that happens, does he live in the zone as much as he wants to, and then what happens to the Walker rate? And so like I think this is another one of these situations where, hey, ride it right now, especially because again, a good division to pitch in, right? Like so it's and a good park to pitch in. So like I think you ride it for the moment and hope that you're able to jump off quickly when it starts to go awry, because I do think it will go awry at some point.
Keller gets at Minnesota and at Cleveland with his next 2 starts.
I'm fine with that.
I'm fine with both, even with Minnesota being kind of tough. If you're going to go with Keller right now, you can go with that. He threw 7 innings, 4 runs against them last time out, which isn't great, but 7 innings, you like the volume there. So I agree with you, though. With Keller, I do worry that he has a 229 BABIP right now. He basically needs good BABIP and hit suppression to really fuel a good whip. And that's my concern. Like you said, once things get tougher, does he start nitpicking a little, or picking the edges a little bit more? So be careful with this one. He was ranked lowest here on purpose. Ranking these guys in terms of availability, or in terms of how much I like them, since they're all pretty available in ESPN and or Yahoo. Some some have big splits. Like why is Taijuan Walker 50% at ESPN but only 25% at Yahoo? I don't know. But anyway, I would go Anderson, Ober, Eflin, Walker, Keller.
I think you're going
the order that they're listed based on what you said, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
Which is Anderson,
maybe
Eflin, Ober,
maybe
Walker.
I switch Walker, Ober.
Okay, yeah, because you are worried about Ober's homers, which is fair, by the way. I'm not saying that like
we're talking about pickups like where like these are obviously for shallower leagues. I mean, in 15s, these guys are already gone more than likely.
Exactly.
So there's replacement on the waiver wire when Walker does go down again. But I think I'd probably go Anderson, Eflin, Walker, Ober, Keller long term.
Perfect. All right, now let's talk about some trade league stuff. We play mostly NFBC, the 2 of us. You have some other leagues that are trading. I only have one that you could possibly trade in. So this is for our trade folks, because we do a lot of NFBC stuff based on what we play, but I don't want to leave our trade folks out. And if you want to help your whip that way and get something more impactful, obviously I could have included any number of aces, but that doesn't really do us any good. I'm trying to find guys who would be gettable at a non-crippling price, because if you got to give Jose Ramirez to get, Corbin Burns, are you really helping yourself that much? Like, you're getting a great pitcher, but you're giving away a ton of hitting. So let's talk about 5 guys who you could trade for that have some major whip upside. Let's start with Bailey Ober's twin teammate, basically. And I say that I wasn't even thinking about the fact that they're on the Twins. I was calling them twins because Joe Ryan isn't terribly different. He doesn't quite have the same home run rate at 2.0 last year that Ober had. It was 1.4 for Joe Ryan, and he's actually suppressed the homers very nicely this year. He's down at 0.6, Joe Ryan is, but he's another one of these guys that gets pretty solid strikeouts, doesn't walk anybody, but lives in the zone and has a high fly ball rate, which means he's susceptible to the long ball. Like Ober, his home run suppression so far this year has been homer to fly ball related, 5%. So I do think Joe Ryan's homers are going to go back up. But again, I don't care, because even if he has a 4 ERA, if it comes with a 1.08 whip or whatever and a bunch of Ks, I'm good with that. But I don't even know that his ERA will go that high. I'm a huge Joe Ryan fan. He's one of my big breakout picks. I got him for a sub 4 ERA this year, and I think he's a great trade target who won't cost you an arm and a leg to fix that whip. What do you think about Joe Ryan? And then compare him to Ober, who you do have the questions about. Same issues with Joe Ryan, or do you see him a little differently?
Some of the same issues, right? I mean, it's like over 50% fly ball percentage. You do kind of wonder, like, as things start to warm up, around the country, especially in that division, like, are the balls going to start flying out? But does all the same things that we like about Bailey Ober, Joe Ryan does. The one thing that Joe Ryan has been doing that Bailey Ober has not been doing is inducing just a crap ton of soft contact. Among qualified starters, he is 5th in Major League Baseball with the most amount of soft contact.
And that helps the fly balls not be as bad, because he's a pop-up machine right now, which are basically automatic outs.
And to the benefit of both Ober and Joe Ryan, that outfield defense is fantastic.
Exactly.
I mean, Buxton is just a monster in the outfield, as long as he's healthy. Kepler's a great defender. And then whoever they put out in left. It should be Royce Lewis. Get Royce Lewis back on this team. What the hell are you doing?
I know. And like, he played well too, but it became a roster crunch based on like options and stuff.
I'm sorry. You can't tell me like he deserves to be in the majors less than like half of the people on that team right now. Like, it's just
not half. I mean, the move would have been Gilberto Celestino. I don't know why Celestino held the role over him, because Nick Gordon's out of options, so I get that.
Sure.
But then you let Celestino go.
Kirilloff sucks right now.
Well,
Miranda sucks
so jacked
right now.
Miranda has not been good. So you go Lewis.
Trevor Larnach. I mean, I like Larnach, but like Lewis has nothing to prove in the minor leagues at this point. He clearly makes that team better. Like, I don't understand. Like, they're in a playoff race that's gonna be tight in that division. Like, he should be on this team.
Kirilloff's in the minors.
Oh, is he? Did they send him down?
He's in the minors on roster resource here. I didn't know this either, so I'm saying this a little bit incredulously. Let me look this up.
Interesting.
Yeah, I did not know option that a week ago, and we missed.
Well, good. He should have.
Yeah, I missed that. Pardon me on that. So, but again, I'm still looking at Gilberto Celestino, and I'm wondering why he kept a job over Royce Lewis. And to his credit, Celestino also playing well in his 75 plate appearances, but it's Royce Lewis.
Yeah.
And so that's the thing. I'm just like, what? So anyway, Joe Ryan, I really, really like him. I was huge on him coming into the year. You guys probably tired of me talking about him, but I would definitely go out and buy.
But back to that soft contact.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I said, there are a number of guys who are on these lists today that are doing this. Tyler Anderson is 4th in baseball in the highest soft contact percentage. If he qualified, Zach Eflin would be 1st.
Wow.
on the list. And we're about to talk about Miles Mikolas here in a little bit, and he is 10th. So like these are, you know, it's nice to see these guys on the same list as Justin Verlander, Max Scherzer, Julio Urias, Pablo Lopez, Sandy Alcantara, and Chris Bassitt.
Fantastic. And they don't walk guys either. So they're not just getting blasted when they don't walk guys. That means that their command is improving. So they're throwing better pitches in the zone. And that's particularly helpful for somebody like a Joe Ryan, who command was kind of the issue last year, where he's like, I can live in the zone, but what kind of pitches are you throwing in the zone? He gave up too many homers. And this year he's kind of taken a step forward with that, at least so far. 5% homer to fly ball rate also helping him, but all those pop-ups are a big deal. Let's talk about a big buy high here, but a buy high that I think will be affordable, because I don't think anybody's asking you for like a top 5 round hitter for Eric Lauer. And yet I believe in this. This is actually dating back to last year now. This is not just a fresh 7-start breakout. You look at him from the second half of last year, and he's been amazing. In fact, he's been 11th in strikeout to walk rate among 125 starters since July of last year, since the second half of last year, Eric Lauer has. But if you take all of his 2021, and add it to this year, it's 160 innings with a 109 whip, 292 ERA, and 171 strikeouts. So well over a strikeout per inning. Eric Lauer has been a beast now for like a full season's worth of work. And so I believe in this, and I'm open to going out and buying high, especially if I'm trying to fix my whip. He'll also help your ERA, your strikeouts, and give you some wins because he's on a quality team. What do you think about Eric Lauer? Are you also interested in buying?
Absolutely. Shout out to my tag team partner, Shelly Verstrate, because she was huge on Eric Lauer coming into the season. And he has helped carry our pitching staff in the tag team league. He's got a career low zone contact percentage, a career high swing and strike rate, a career high O swing. He's doing a good job of kind of limiting the hard contact. There are a fair amount of fly balls, but not quite as many as like Ober and Ryan. So like I don't think the home run rate is like gonna come down. You know, he's at 1.5 right now. I think that's probably where he lives, and he is getting lucky kind of in the strand rate department. But even with regression, like he's probably like a 3.3, 3.4 ERA pitcher with a good whip, and he gets strikeouts. I like Lauer a lot.
To like here, right? And mile an hour. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, to your point, like you have to buy high on him, but like I think most people who have him roster are going to go, "Oh, I'm selling high." Okay.
Exactly.
Like I'm not, you know, I'm like I think he could legitimately be like a top 30, top 35 starter rest of the way, and I don't think you're gonna have to pay that.
No, I don't either. Let's come up with some names here and see where we're at with Eric Lauer on a buy high, because it will be pricey, but I don't think it'll be egregious. Would you give Josh Bell in a 1-for-1?
Yes, if I needed the pitching, I would.
Yeah. Again, need the line here. You've got great hitting. Your pitching just hasn't come together. You have some hitting that you can give. What about, and if I say a name that you don't think will get it done, also point that out, because this one might be borderline, but let's go with the guy we just talked about. What about Kepler? 6 homers, 2 steals, 262 average.
And I love Kepler.
Kepler for Lauer. I'm a big Kep Dog fan. Mm-hmm. Okay, what about now? This one's actually a little bit of a sell low buy high. So you might be thinking, somebody might be like, okay, I'm buying low and I'm selling. I'm getting out from under my Eric Lauer. This guy's turned it around a bit, and I didn't realize that he actually kind of got out of his a little bit of a funk recently. But Randy Arozarena, prior to his 8 hits in the last 3 games, had a 622 OPS and 225 average. Now he's up to 258 and 722. So he kind of fixed things. But would you do Eric Lauer for Randy Arozarena?
I'm not giving up Arozarena for Lauer. Okay. I love Arozarena. I mean, that's
That's fair. He's a 2020 guy last year.
Yeah, and I think he's, like you said, he's turning it around. Like Jason's been talking mad shit because he hates seeing him struggle. But
wait, you've been talking shit on Rosarena?
Yeah, in
I
our
didn't
chat.
I didn't hear his corner this week.
No. What wasn't on Sleeper in the Bus, like just in general.
Oh, was in our group chat?
Yeah, in our group chat, and
I must have missed some.
It's been all year. All year he's been talking trash on my boy, but he's turning around. I love it.
Rosarena, big forever in my heart. Big part of my NFBC main win. Mm-hmm. So, I got I don't have the full set yet. I need to get a few more, but I'm getting a card from everybody on the team, and then I'm putting in a little card book. My mom actually came up with that idea years ago. We went to like 3 card shops around town and got cards for all the guys on my dad's winning team, and he loved it. So that's been something that I've liked ever since. But anyway, let me do one more name here because I thought a Rosarena was a little high there. I just wanted to see where you were at. It's
defensible though. It is.
Yeah, it wouldn't even be. I think maybe make it a 2 for 2 to smooth it out a little bit.
Yeah.
With that, by the way, Lauer is the 36th player on the Razzball Player Rater, just to get an idea of what we're working with here. Rosarena is only 85th, but he's got a green arrow up because he's been cooking lately. So what about? Let me see if I can do a sell high for sell high. Oh, here we go. Taylor Ward. That's a sell high for sell high.
I mean, yes, I don't know. I mean, I would definitely sell Ward for that, especially with the injury issues going through right now. I don't know if the Lauer owner is going to do that until we get.
I guess until
he's getting an MRI on his
No, you're right. You're right.
I think if he comes back clear and stuff like that, then I think that's a fair deal, because I do like what Ward has been doing. Like I don't think either side is like necessarily outright winning that deal, but I think you have to wait until Ward is.
But you got to get the health checkup. That's a good call. He missed a couple games a while ago, and he's missed the last 2 now as well. So he's kind of been, and it's that's that really tough part with Taylor Ward where he's not going on the IL, so you're getting hit. You're getting zeros.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And so that's the tough part. But he's been so electric that it's hard to really get too mad at him. You mentioned Miles Mikolas, that we were going to talk about him, and that is happening now. He looks back, and I love it because I really enjoyed his breakout year in 2018. His 2019 wasn't, it was regression. It was exactly what we all thought, right? Like that's what the regression looks like. He went from 283, 107 to 416, 122, which was still pretty capable. And by the way, even if he was only that 416, 122, that would still help your whip. But 196, 098 so far this year on the ERA whip combo for Mikolas. He looks even better than the 2018 iteration so far. Obviously, he's not going to hold that level, but he should remain good. He's got the right team for a guy who doesn't get a ton of strikeouts, because that defense can turn balls in play into outs like crazy. And so Miles Mikolas, with his career 118 whip, and even better since joining St. Louis, it's 113. Is he somebody you'd go out and trade for to fix your whip issues?
Yes. And he would definitely be a huge target, because I think like people are like, one, this isn't sustainable. 2, like I get no strikeouts from the guy. This is extremely sustainable. I mean, not only, I talked about how he has one of the best soft contact percentages for a pitcher in all of baseball. It also has one of the best hard contact percentages at 24% hard contact allowed. That is 10th best in baseball. Some of those names on that list: Michael Kopech, Alek Manoah, Yu Darvish, Carlos Rodon, Dylan Cease, Pablo Lopez, Max Scherzer, Julio Urias. That's good names to be associated with.
Yeah.
He doesn't give up like over 50% fly balls. It's still higher than you probably like to see, but it's a great park to pitch in. It's a fantastic division to pitch in, with a bunch of bottom feeder teams in the Cubs, the Pirates, the Reds. Great defense behind him. Like this is like a perfect like confluence of events for a guy like Mikolas. I picked him up in a dynasty league where I'm rebuilding, and because it's like, he's going to go deep into games, and he's not going to get a lot of strikeouts. So like, I'll get the innings I need to qualify for my innings limit, but I won't like rack up a ton of strikeouts with it. And maybe his ratios will be like mediocre. Ratio's been amazing, and now I'm looking to get to flip him for a future asset to further my rebuild. I think this is completely sustainable. Honestly, it's kind of one of my favorites out of this whole list. So
yeah,
I like Mikolas a lot.
No, I'm totally in on Miles Mikolas. And do you remember how cheap he was in like the DC
he was
drafts early on?
He was like, absolutely free,
dude. Yeah,
like I said, I picked up Mikolas in a 16-team dynasty league. Like, I mean, picked him up off the waiver wire. Like
crazy.
Yeah, I mean,
actually, just looking real quick. Yeah, all DCs combined, all 321 of them, Mikolas was
500,
436. Yeah, and then before the new year, I'll do before the new year real quick just to see, because I think he was even cheaper then. What did I say for the first one? 430 something. He was 460. So a little bit cheaper, but again, anything for something for Mikolas, so cheap. So if you believe in him,
part of the issue is we didn't know if he was going to be healthy. Like we didn't know what the health situation was,
and that's why he was so cheap.
And but so, go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Okay, I'm sorry. I just felt like I feel like I'm steamrolling you like crazy today, and I'm really sorry. But Mikolas, even when it was looking like he was going to be in the rotation and everything, like he was still 352 in the main. Like Mikolas just was never expensive. And that's
because people are looking for upside late in the draft. Like this is something I've talked about at length over the last few years is people are often like, who is the guy that can be the next Robbie Ray or the next Logan Webb? And like those guys
has upside.
But he doesn't have the strikeout upside.
I know. That's fair. That's fair. Because it's the most bankable stat. Like it's the easiest thing to say, okay, this will turn into something.
But to your earlier point that you kind of led off with, WHIP and ERA are the things that move the most. And so like you want these guys who can stabilize your ratios. And you can pair him with the high strikeout guys. Like, right? You can pair him with, and hope that those guys do take a step forward. And now you've got an elite ratio with those the strikeouts you got from the other guys. So,
and Mikolas can cover their ratios if they don't come to fruition. So I like the pairing there of a Mikolas with somebody else. I only got him in one DC, so I'm talking a big game. I don't want to pretend like I got him everywhere. I didn't.
I didn't either.
I wasn't out. It was more of like, okay, he's on the list, and I just was getting some other dudes there with Mikolas. So I'm with you in terms of he might be my favorite here. Joe Ryan's actually my favorite, but Mikolas from a cost perspective as well. Like I think he's gonna be cheaper than Lauer, but could be just as good. What about Chris Bassitt? Somebody you love, and you know what? Let me give you a little tip of the old cap there because I gave you some pretty stern pushback, and I think you had him like 40 something, and I was like, damn, dude, like 40th, like he just.
I think I had him higher than that. Honestly.
Maybe even within the top 35. And I was like, he basically has to repeat. And you're like, okay, challenge accepted, because that's exactly what he's doing. His strikeout and walk rates are equal. His hit rate is damn near equal, 7.3 to 7.4. His ERA is better, and his WHIP is slightly worse, from 315 to 277 on the ERA, from 106 to 109 on the WHIP. So he's repeating. He's been amazing.
I had him 27th.
27th. Okay, yeah. So I undersold you there at top 40. And I was like, man, dude, you're really asking a lot of a 33-year-old. You were correct. He's been amazing so far. Obviously, it's only 8 starts. You know that it's not over yet, but you got to be feeling great about your Chris Bassitt love. Did that parlay into pickups? Do you have him?
No, I don't. I mean, I do have him in leagues, but like I got sniped. Like Delton Del Don sniped me on him at the main event in Vegas.
Main, yep.
I didn't get him in as many other leagues as I would have liked. I got him in a lot of DCs and things like that, early drafts. It's one of the reasons I like doing early drafts because I feel like I can get my guys before other people start to catch up on the guys that I really like. So, but yeah, I mean, he's been fantastic. You know, like I mentioned earlier, I mean, he's got the best the highest soft contact percentage in all of baseball. It's a great park to pitch in. You know, that division isn't as scary as we thought it was going to be. You know, he's got a career low in zone contact right now. A career high.
Bassitt with the Mets, by the way.
Yeah, a career high O swing, a career high swinging strike rate. He is attacking the zone at 62% first pitch strike rate, which is close to his career high. Like, he is doing everything we want him to do, and yeah, absolutely love it. It's the breakout. The breakout had already happened, and I just don't think people thought it was sustainable. And I think too, ending the year injured kind of held down his price a little bit.
Yeah, you know, and he was hit by that batted ball.
Yeah, but it wasn't an arm injury, right? Exactly. It was the flukiest of fluky injuries.
And he did return enough to be for me, watching Bassitt in those last couple of outings, it was like, okay, he's not afraid. And you never know how it's going to affect you till you get back out on the mound.
Yeah.
Right. It can be really scary. And you would never blame a guy who was cautious. And if it got in your head, you could understand that. But he showed no ill signs, at least in the limited outings that we got after he returned for Bassitt. And he's just been a god with the Mets. He looks amazing.
He has the lowest average exit velocity of any qualified starter.
That's incredible. That's incredible. And, he's not a strikeout drain either. Strikeout per inning. You'll take that all day with these great ratios. Quality team, too, should keep his wins going. So, Bassitt looking pretty nice. Let's talk about the old stalwart here, the whip god for many moons, and Mikolas' teammate, Adam Wainwright. 2.87 ERA. 119 whip. Actually, the whip's running a little bit high relative to expectations and to how well he's been pitching. I think he can actually better his whip from here forward. Big breakout last year, or not breakout, like a spike season, I guess we'll call it, because we were kind of writing off Waino from 16 through 19. He was like 4.58 ERA, 144 whip. It's like, this is over. And then in the pandemic season, the 2 months there, he pitched well, but it's like, okay, it's the pandemic season. Like, I put nothing into that for Waino. And then last year he killed it. Like I said, breakout season. But the spike season from him there was awesome, and he's carried it over. And like I said earlier, I think his whip could actually come down because he has a 10% walk rate right now, which is a career high. He's career 7%. I think he gets the walks back in check. I think he will not have a good strikeout rate. He didn't really have a great one last year at 21%. He's at 19% this year. But great whip, solid ERA, and win opportunities on a good team. I like Waino, and I think he'll be very cheap. I think he'll be the cheapest out of this group because he's 500 years old. What do you think about Waino?
I don't think he will be the cheapest out of this group. I still think Mikolas is the cheapest out of this group.
You think so?
Yeah.
Oh, man,
because Waino is the name value. And he's coming off that huge season last year.
I would love that then. I'll take Mikolas then.
I'll pull a poll out after we're done with this. Like, who is better rest of the way? And we'll just see, who do you value highest rest of the way between Wainwright and Mikolas? And we'll see. But man, this has all the ingredients to go pretty poorly, but some ingredients to go pretty well. I mean, the hard contact is like under 25%. Soft contact is almost at 25%. Soft contact is 14%. But that's not bad. And the hard contact is really great. The problem is, what do you think his zone contact percentage is right now?
I mean,
just by saying that, I'm cluing you in. It's high.
It's got to be high. Yeah. I was trying to guess a number, but I knew high was what you were alluding to. Give us the number.
95%.
Oh, Jesus, dude.
95% zone contact.
That explains Waino's 6% swinging strike rate then.
Yes.
He's not overpowering him in the zone.
He is just saying, I'm going to let you hit it, but you're not going to hit it hard enough for it to matter.
Exactly.
So, and I mean, he's getting 50% ground balls, which is great. That we talked about that defense ad nauseum. In the preseason and during the season, it's a fantastic defense
Even
behind
earlier
him.
when we were talking about Mikolas.
Yeah,
that
right.
Defense is so sick.
Reason why I loved Steven Matz coming in the year. Rest in peace. But yeah, I mean, this. I think as things warm up, like that is a lot of contact to be giving up, and I don't think that he can sustain these levels. There's just going to be too many, even with the defense behind him, there's going to be too many things that get through the infield. I don't know that he's going to be a major whip asset, especially the walk rate's up, like you mentioned. He's giving up so much contact that something has got to find its way through holes. Do I think he's going to be bad? No, I think he's just a crafty veteran. I think he knows what he's doing. But I don't think he's going to be the whip asset he's been in previous seasons.
I think all that's fair with Waino. The walk rate being up at 10%, it's 9.5. We round, but up from 6 last year and in 20. So that's 271 innings of a 6% mark. If he can bring that back down, then he can still be the whip asset. But we've seen when it goes wrong, Waino's legitimately not a whip asset. It was 144 in the 2016 to 2019 sample that I talked about. So I would be careful here. He might be the cheapest. I do still think he'll help though. So if he is the cheapest, if Mikolas is more expensive and you can get him cheaper and you're just looking to go cheap with it, I say go for Waino. Maybe curate his starts a little bit, maybe skip a few tough outings. But yeah, he's still going to be my lowest priority of this group here. And in fact, I'm probably going to prioritize them as I've listed them here: Joe Ryan, Eric Lauer, Miles Mikolas, Chris Bassitt, Adam Wainwright. What about you? What's your order? Considering cost too, because that's why I have Joe Ryan at the top, because I think his cost will be lower than Lauer's, but he could be just as good.
Really? I don't think his cost will be lower than Lauer's. I'm going to do a poll on that one too.
No.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, do the poll for sure.
There was so much hype on Joe Ryan coming into the season.
From me.
From not just you. There were lots of people.
Primarily me. You just heard it from me all the time.
Yeah, I heard it from you all the time, but like I listen to you nonstop because I have to.
Unfortunately, that's why I think it skews your perception of how much hype there was.
Yeah, so
factoring cost too.
Bassitt, Lauer, Mikolas, Ryan, Wainwright.
Okay. I think that's all fair. And we don't have huge splits there either. We liked the top 4 a good bit, and then Waino with
I do feel like all these guys though would be, outside of Wainwright, would be undervalued by the market.
Because they're whip guys, and that's just how whip is. Whip is the runs for pitching. It's not as highly valued. So
their look is boring.
Exactly.
And that's fine. I don't mind boring. I honestly wish, like, I had planned on one draft, like just drafting a bunch of these guys. Like just load up on hitting and I wish I had, because like I'd probably be doing much better than I am in some of my leagues. Right, drafted Garrett Cole and guys like that. So
that loser,
never
heard of him.
Brandon Woodruff just killing my ERA in Tout Wars. I've got like a 40 ERA in Tout Wars right now.
A 40?
It's not quite that bad, but it's close.
Don't worry about Waino, by the way.
Don't worry about Woodruff.
Not Waino, Woodruff. Yeah, he's fine.
No joke. My ERA in Tout Wars 5.09.
Oh my God! In a year when there's so much pitching,
my ERA is double that of the person in first place. Scott Engel has a 2.54 whip. Or sorry, 2.54 ERA. My whip 1.37.
That's bananas.
And I'm currently in 6th place.
So you're hanging in there.
My team is great, other than my ERA, and I had Greinke go yesterday. Like,
so as you, I mean, it was against Arizona. Like, I get it.
Yeah.
You know.
I also started our stream Zach Davies in a few weeks, so that was fun. My offense is great.
You should ghost that prick right off your team.
Yeah, I should. Absolutely. I can't believe there were people standing up for him. I had pushback on Twitter.
So did I, dude.
For those who don't know, we're talking about Zach. You can look up Zach Davies and his wife.
Well, how do we know it's true?
Yeah, exactly. Like Zach Davies' wife and him got finalized their divorce. He ghosted her like
straight
2
up
years ago.
Ghosted her. Just quit the marriage.
Sent a text message saying that he wanted a divorce, and then blocked her phone number. She hasn't heard from him in 2 years.
That's like the most insane thing ever, dude. Like, how do you?
He was having an affair. So, just a garbage person.
Just a bitch-made loser, man.
So
like, that's unbelievable.
I'm glad that he got blown up. I wish I hadn't picked him up.
Like for the both sides, people, what's the other side that's going to make that viable? And like, do you think, not to give that too much air because it's such a stupid thing to say, do you think that if Zach had like some devastating like trump card that he could play back on her that would expose her, then she probably wouldn't have said anything then? If she stole millions of dollars from him and cheated on him with his brother or something, or her brother, that'd be weird.
That'd be really weird.
Yeah. Like, if there was something like that, then why would she come forward if she knew she could just be exposed? Like, I don't understand these people that instantly jump to what if it's fake? What if she's lying? Like,
and it's not like she did it during the divorce, like to try to get more money or anything like that. Like, she waited till the ink was dry on the divorce. And like,
because she was so heartbroken and felt awful. She was ashamed. Like, anyway, not to make it a whole thing about that, but fuck Zach Davies, man. Yeah, and again, absolutely. Like, if your first thing is like, maybe this is fake, I was like, why? Think through that. What would make it fake? Why? What's the value to her? And just, I got pushed back too, and it just drove me insane.
I couldn't believe I got pushed back. Like,
I got the whole, like, how do you know it was her? I was like, I did the 9 seconds it took to investigate the Instagram handle, and it's so very clearly her, with a bunch of Brewers' wives and all that. It's brain dead shit.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, sorry to end on a down note. Go fix your whip, y'all. Don't let it linger too much. Now, I don't want to give like contradictory advice. On one hand, I'm saying you can fix ratios later in the season. So it's not mission critical that you have to go out and fix it. But you don't want to have to be busting your hump on the ratios later in season, because when you are streaming, one bad outing can ruin the good work of like 4 good outings. So if you are having whip or ERA issues right now, start attacking them now. And we just gave you 10 whip guys that you can pick up or trade for, depending on league type. So Justin, we'll talk again on Friday. I'm all over the place again. I got a scatterbrain like crazy. Zach Davies got me worked up. Great talking with you. Enjoy your Nolan Gorman, but not too much. I don't want you to be too successful in our league. But we'll talk Friday. Are we changing times?
Oh, we're not. We'll talk about it off there.
Okay,
but so yeah, we'll be probably regular time on Friday.
Perfect.
I will try not to ghost you like Zach Davies.
Yeah, please don't Zach Davies me. And no watch party this week. My timing is a little off, but then next week.
Okay, sounds good.
Next week. And all right. Bye.
Take it easy.